Citizenship on the Go. Lesson 7. American Government. The Legislative Branch. Part 2. Representatives and Senators. There are different numbers of people working in each of the two parts of the U.S. legislature, or Congress. One part of Congress, the House of Representatives, has 435 voting members in all. Each state gets a different percentage of the 435 member total based on the size of its population. The bigger a state's population, the bigger the representation it has in the House. Since there are many more people living in the state of New York than in the state of Connecticut, for example, New York has more than 20 voting members in the House of Representatives, while Connecticut has just 5. The state with the biggest population in the United States is California. Since California has a much bigger population than even New York, California has more than 50 representatives in the House. When determining how many representatives a state has in the House, the geographical size of the state doesn't matter. Only the size of the population matters. By land area, Alaska is the largest state in the United States. But Alaska has only one representative in the House, despite how huge it is. This is because much fewer people live in Alaska than in California, in New York, or even in Connecticut. The United States government takes account of the population of each state every 10 years in what's called a census. By holding a census, the government finds out the size of each state's population and bases the number of representatives each state gets in the House on that. Voting members of the House of Representatives serve 2-year terms. At the end of 2 years in office, a representative can either retire or run for re-election. This means that every 2 years, after the people of every congressional district in every state vote for who they want for representatives, Congress starts a new session with a new mix of first-time representatives and re-elected representatives in office. Representatives do not have term limits, which means they can return to office as many times as a majority of voters in their district choose to re-elect them. Some representatives serve in the House many terms back to back, but no matter how popular a representative is in their district, they must win re-election every 2 years in order to stay in office. Anyone over the age of 25 who has been a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years can run for the office of House Representative. Most of the 435 voting members of the House currently serving a 2-year term in Congress are U.S. citizens from birth. Some, however, are people who naturalized as U.S. citizens later in life. Civics test question. The House of Representatives has how many voting members? The House of Representatives has how many voting members? 435. The House of Representatives has 435 voting members. Civics test question. We elect a U.S. representative for how many years? We elect a U.S. representative for how many years? 2. We elect a U.S. representative for 2 years. Civics test question. Why do some states have more representatives than other states? Why do some states have more representatives than other states? Because of the state's population. Some states have more representatives Because they have more people. Because some states have more people, they also have more representatives in the House. Voting members of the House of Representatives are not usually elected by everyone in their state. Instead, they're elected specifically by the citizens who live in their congressional district. Each state of the United States is divided into the same number of congressional districts as the number of representatives it has in the House. Since some states with a small population, like Alaska, have only one representative in the House, those states also have only one congressional district. No matter where someone lives in Alaska, they have the same representative in the House of Representatives as everyone else in Alaska. In most states, however, where exactly you live in the state determines who your representative is. Connecticut, for example, has 5 congressional districts, one for each of its 5 representatives in the House. In Connecticut, if someone lives in the state capital, Hartford, they are a resident of Connecticut Congressional District 1 and are represented in Congress by the District 1 representative. If someone lives in the town of Mansfield, Connecticut, even though they're in the same state, they have a different representative in the House. A person living in Mansfield is a resident of Connecticut Congressional District 2, and their representative is the District 2 representative. And someone who lives on the other side of the state, in Woodbury, Connecticut, is in District 5, so their representative is the District 5 representative. As long as you know what congressional district you live in, you can easily find out who your representative is. Because there are some towns and cities that fall right on the border between 2 different congressional districts, however, you might not be able to easily tell which district is yours just by looking at a map. For example, the town of Glastonbury, Connecticut, is a split district. Some people who live in Glastonbury are in Connecticut Congressional District 1. Other people who live in Glastonbury are in Connecticut Congressional District 2. People who live in split districts can use their zip code to find out which congressional district they live in, and, by extension, who they have representing them in the House of Representatives. Your zip code is the series of 5 numbers found at the end of your mailing address. If you don't know your zip code, look up your address using your building number, the name of your street, the name of your town or city, and the name of your state. Most online search engines will be able to tell you what your zip code is using that information. Once you know your zip code, be sure to memorize it. In the United States, knowing your zip code is useful for many things, not just for finding out which congressional district you live in. Many government applications and other forms and documents will ask you to write down your zip code. Civics test question. Name your U.S. representative. Name your U.S. representative. Your answer to this question depends on which congressional district of your state you live in. Do you know which congressional district you live in? Do you know the name of the representative of your district? If you're not sure you know the name of your district's representative, visit house.gov to find the answer. Type in your zip code in the box under the words Find Your Representative toward the top right corner of the house.gov webpage. Then click the button that says Look Up. Based on your zip code, the house.gov website will tell you who represents your congressional district in the House of Representatives. While the number of representatives each state has in the House depends on the state's population, representation in the Senate works differently. There are 100 U.S. senators. Unlike the House of Representatives, every state, even states with a fairly small population, like Connecticut, or a very small population, like Alaska, has an equal number of senators. Each and every state of the United States has 2 senators in Congress. The Constitution sets up the House of Representatives and the Senate differently because of something called the Connecticut Compromise. When the Constitution was being written in 1787, some founding fathers wanted Congress to have proportional representation. Proportional representation would mean that states with bigger populations would have more representatives in Congress than states with smaller populations. Other founding fathers at the Constitutional Convention in 1787 were against the proportional representation idea. They wanted Congress to have equal representation. Using a system of equal representation would mean that each state would have the same number of representatives in Congress, no matter the size of the state's population. In the end, a lawyer from Connecticut named Roger Sherman got the arguing founding fathers to agree to a compromise. One part of Congress, the House of Representatives, would have proportional representation. The other part of Congress, the Senate, would have equal representation. The Connecticut Compromise is why, to this day, the number of representatives in the House is based on each state's population, while the number of senators from each state is always 2. Civics test question. How many U.S. senators are there? How many U.S. senators are there? 100. Each of the 50 states of the United States has 2 senators. 50 times 2 is 100. So, there are 100 U.S. senators total. Since there are 2 senators per state, no matter the size of the population, senators are not elected by congressional district. Instead, senators are elected by all the voting citizens of a state, and senators represent not just the people of one set of towns or cities, but all the people of the state. Senators also stay in office longer per term than representatives do. While representatives serve terms of 2 years at a time, senators serve 6-year terms. After 6 years in office, senators can be re-elected to Congress if they decide to run again, and a majority of the people in their state vote for them. Some senators serve several 6-year terms back to back because they are elected again and again by the people of their state. To run for senator, a person must have been a U.S. citizen for at least 9 years. They must also be at least 30 years old. Because House representatives are elected every 2 years, the President of the United States is elected every 4 years, and senators are elected every 6 years, citizens vote for members of Congress during both presidential elections and midterm elections. Presidential elections are the elections in which Americans vote for president. Midterm elections are the elections held halfway through the president's 4-year term, in which Americans vote for representatives in the House and for some senators. Usually, on maps showing the results of midterm elections or presidential elections, if a Republican Party candidate for senator won the vote, the whole state will be colored red. If a Democratic Party candidate for senator won the vote, the whole state will be colored blue. This is because states usually vote for just one of their 2 senators in any given election, and each senator represents all the people of the state. Maps showing the results of elections for members of the House of Representatives are broken down into smaller pieces than Senate election maps, Because House representatives are elected by congressional district. If a Republican Party candidate for House representative wins the vote in a congressional district, the district will usually be colored red. If a Democratic Party candidate wins the vote in a congressional district, the district will usually be colored blue. Since most states have more than one congressional district, you will often see a mix of blue and red inside a single state's borders on maps showing the election results for House representatives. Civics test question. We elect a U.S. Senator for how many years? We elect a U.S. Senator for how many years? 6 years. Senators serve 6-year terms, which means we elect a U.S. Senator for 6 years at a time. Civics test question. Who does a U.S. Senator represent? Who does a U.S. Senator represent? All the people of the state. Unlike House representatives, who represent the people of their congressional district, a senator represents all the people of the state. Civics test question. Who is one of your state's U.S. senators now? Who is one of your state's U.S. senators now? Your state has 2 senators. Do you know the name of either of the people currently representing your state in the Senate? If you're not sure you know the name of at least one of your state's senators, visit senate.gov to find the answer. On the senate.gov homepage, click the words Find Your Senators in the top left corner of the screen. Then choose the name of your state from the drop-down menu. Once you click the name of your state, the website will tell you the names of your state's 2 senators now.